At least 9 persons, including 2 children, were wounded today when gunfire erupted at a high school football game in Camden. The shootout at Woodrow Wilson High School was the result of a fight between 2 rival motorcycle gangs. One of the school's teachers described the scene today.
People were panicking all over the field. Some people left children and ran back to try to find them immediately. And people were being run over, trying to get away from, part of the hysterical action. It's a very frightening situation.
Police arrested 37 persons, all members of the 2 gangs. Most of the injured are reported in stable condition, but at least 1 victim is critical. 2 boys, 1 10 years old, the other 2 were among the injured.
Convicted cop killer James Landano is one step closer to being a free man tonight. A federal judge ordered Landano released from prison after serving 13 years for a crime he's claimed all along he didn't commit. Marie DeNoia has this report.
It was defense attorney Neil Mullen, joyous over his court victory, who broke the news to 49-year-old James Landano in a telephone call to East Jersey State Prison.
He said, I want to scream, but I'll get in trouble. He said he felt like he was going to explode.
Later, Landano himself reacted to the ruling in a phone call to reporters from behind prison bars.
Elated, excited, relieved, a whole bunch of different emotions. But just glad that it's finally over.
This was Landano's 10th attempt at freedom through the courts in the past 9 years. Since his 1977 conviction for the murder of Newark cop John Snow during a holdup in Kearney in 1976, Landano has maintained his innocence. In today's decision, Federal District Judge H. Lee Sarakin cited the several pieces of evidence withheld from the 1977 trial, indicating Landano's innocence. Sarakin wrote, "Neither the death of a police officer nor the grief of his family is vindicated by the conviction of one who may be innocent. The scales of justice are rendered askew by the withholding of evidence."
This is a case of a man who's innocent, who's been in jail for 13 years, who was framed by a gang that did this crime, and the prosecutor concealed evidence pointing to his innocence.
During the trial and over the years since his conviction, compelling evidence emerged indicating the murder was actually committed by Landano's childhood friend, Victor Forney. Landano's attorneys claim the information was illegally withheld at the time of the trial. However, Judge Sarakin's decision finds no proof prosecutors withheld the evidence intentionally.
Obviously, something terribly wrong has happened here. We trust that Attorney General Peretti will look into this immediately.
The 67-page decision orders Landano to seek a bail hearing in state court. The state has 30 days to appeal today's decision and 90 days to order a retrial, leaving the distinct possibility that Landano could spend several months behind bars, depending on what and when the state decides. But today, Landano's wife, Camille, was optimistic and counting the days.
Just to get to do something other than a talk. I mean, that's what we've done for the past 11 years. We've talked on visits 3 times a week, and now we're going to get to some better things in life.
The state is expected to decide within the next few days if it will appeal Judge Sarakin's decision to free Landano. Marie DeNoia, New Jersey Network News, Newark.
Our big story tonight is James Landano. He's a free man. After 13 years behind bars for the slaying of a Newark policeman, Landano was ordered released late today to the wife he has never lived with. Yesterday, a federal judge threw out Landano's conviction, saying the prosecution had withheld evidence of his possible innocence. And late this afternoon, a federal appeals court rejected the state's efforts to keep Landano in prison. Marie DeNoia has the latest now from our Newark studio. Marie?
Phil, when state attorneys went to federal court today, it was their intention to keep Landano locked up while they appealed the federal decision to set him free, a process that could have taken up to and over a year. Instead, today, after 4 grueling hours in court, Landano has walked from federal court in Newark, a free man.
No, this is the beginning of the end. It's over. No more lies. The rest is going to be history.
Joy and relief followed an intense wait in which James Landano's freedom hung in the balance of a decision. Federal Judge H. Lee Sarakin had listened to arguments from both the state and Landano's attorney, Neil Mullen. But by 3 o'clock, he'd ruled that Landano posed no threat of flight, no threat to society, and had undergone enough suffering, serving 13 years of a sentence for a crime he didn't commit. However, the state moved to have Sarakin's decision reconsidered. It took Third Circuit Appeals Judge Leonard Garth 3 hours to decide to release Landano.
I am so happy that I won't stop smiling for a long time.
How long have you waited for this honeymoon?
A long time.
Today, the state also filed an appeal of Judge Sarakin's decision to overturn the murder conviction and has the option to request a retrial.
I feel great joy, but I also feel some fear. The Attorney General has indicated a strong desire to put my client back in jail as soon as humanly possible.
The state has until Tuesday at 12 noon to appeal Landano's release, and officials say they will. Marie DeNoia reporting from the Newark studio. Back to Trenton.
Good evening. There was a dramatic development in the Jersey City courtroom where Vincent James Landano's retrial on cop-killing charges was set to begin today. The man Landano has long maintained committed the crime, Victor Forney, made a surprise appearance to say he's changed his mind about testifying. As Michael Aaron reports, the move can be seen as a setback for either side.
I just want the trial to start. Let's do it. Let's get this over with.
Today was supposed to be the start of opening arguments, but like everything else in this 22-year-old labyrinth of a case, it took an unexpected turn. Victor Forney was a member of the Breed motorcycle gang involved in the 1976 holdup that ended in the shooting of Newark police officer John Snow. He and his fellow Breed members served minor sentences for the crime. Jim Landano, they said, had been the trigger man, and Landano was convicted and sentenced to life. But Landano over the years has maintained his innocence and grown ever bolder about saying Victor Forney was the killer.
Mr. Forney, you may come over.
So when Forney was brought into the courtroom today, it was a gripping moment for those who followed the case. Forney was supposed to be a key witness for the state. The prosecution is paying his hotel bill and has him in a mild form of custody, but he suddenly developed a change of heart that required a quick hearing today.
I don't want to testify.
Even after the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office got Attorney General Peter Vernero to sign a full grant of immunity at noon today, Forney was refusing to answer the prosecutor's most basic questions.
Mr. Forney, August 13th, 1976, where were you?
I have nothing to say.
Mr. Forney, do you know Alan Roller?
I have nothing to say on any questions.
Mr. Forney, do you know Vincent James Landano?
Do I have to keep saying I have nothing to say?
I am directing you to answer the questions along the lines that
Yes,
Mr.
sure.
Gardner just made the request of me to do.
Yes, but my position is I'm not going to answer any questions, Your Honor.
Judge Shirley Tolentino held Forney in contempt. He was handcuffed and led off to the county jail for up to 18 months unless he has another change of heart. Forney served just 8 months for his participation in the crime, though Landano always maintained Forney was the mastermind and the trigger man. His refusal to testify means the loss of a key witness for the state, and so the prosecutors asked for permission to read to the jury Forney's grand jury testimony of 2 years ago that led to Landano's reindictment. The defense objected vigorously, the judge reserving decision. But Landano, too, thinks Forney's withdrawal from the trial hurts him.
We could have gleaned a lot of good stuff given the opportunity to cross-examine Mr. Forney. Maybe we could have found out the answer.
That he did it?
That I didn't do it.
The judge will decide tomorrow morning whether the jury can hear Victor Forney's 1996 grand jury testimony in the absence of Mr. Forney himself, and then the opening arguments that were supposed to begin today are set to begin at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Michael Aaron, NJN News, Jersey City.
Opening arguments took place today in the retrial of James Landano on cop-killing charges. Landano's conviction was overturned twice, but the state is retrying him for the 1976 murder of Newark police officer John Snow during an armed robbery. Today in court, the prosecutor said the key evidence against Landano would be a hat stained with the blood of the victim, a hat belonging to Landano.
Similar? No, ladies and gentlemen. It is the exact same hat that was recovered from the escape vehicle, and I will prove that, and I will prove it through FBI testimony of analysis performed by an FBI special agent.
But the defense argued that the 3 men associated with the Breed motorcycle gang planned and executed the crime and planted Landano's hat in the getaway car.
He never was associated with the Breed. He didn't know them. He didn't have any contact with them. He's just as much a victim in this case as police officer John Snow. He has been incarcerated. He has been labeled a cop killer. He has been vilified, and he is not guilty, ladies and gentlemen. He did not do it.
The trial is expected to go on for about a month. The state called its star witness at the retrial of James Landano today. Alan Roller, once a member of an outlaw motorcycle gang, testified that he and Landano committed the armed robbery in 1976, in which a Newark police officer was shot to death. And as he did 21 years ago, Roller testified that Landano was the killer. Michael Aaron has the story.
I was looking for Jimmy, and I didn't see him at first, and then when I looked to the left, I noticed a patrol car, and Jimmy was coming towards me from that direction.
Alan Roller served 8 years in prison for being the stick-up man at the 1976 robbery of a check-cashing establishment. Jim Landano, he says, was the lookout when the cop pulled up.
I believe he told me he iced the cop. He had no choice, he had to ice the cops.
Roller recounted in detail how he and his good friend Victor Forney recruited Landano for the job at the last minute when someone else backed out. He identified the hat he said Landano wore that day and the jacket spattered with the dead officer's blood.
That was the jacket that Jimmy was wearing that day.
If Roller's telling the truth, then Landano is the killer. But people on the defense side think Roller's been telling the same fabricated story now for 22 years.
I came here fully expecting Mr. Roller to continue lying. I mean, he has lied for 22 years. And why should I think he would not lie?
You lied, right?
No, I didn't lie.
You didn't lie?
No, I didn't lie.
Defense attorney Paul Castellaro spent the afternoon trying to impeach Roller's credibility. The defense has long maintained that Roller's friend Forney was the killer, that Forney and Roller and another man framed Landano by stealing his hat and planting it at the crime scene. Landano says he never even met Roller. The defense seized on this Roller slip of the tongue.
When we're leaving, Jimmy was driving when we were leaving.
Question was, you just pull out of the check cashing place, who's driving? And you say Victor, and you were confused?
It was Victor.
It was Victor, right?
No, you're confusing the issue. It was Jimmy.
Castellaro established that Roller and Forney committed many armed robberies together and that Forney's gun killed the police officer. Roller said Landano borrowed it, but he got caught in numerous inconsistencies.
It's not. You're telling this jury that this is not a lie. Look at the jurors and tell them it's not a lie.
Michael Aaron, NJN News, Jersey City.